Kaduna trip heads for Benue as CDS IG launch cross-border manhunt for killers in Benue. Senate marks mid-term, prioritizes electoral and constitutional reforms ahead of 2027. And later on the show, court grants Emefiele 2 billion naira bail for 753 Abuja duplexes linked to him. Well, I'll be hanging out with Emeka Madunagu and Olayinka Igbile Double. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. Leadership is tested in moments of crisis. And following a wave of deadly attacks in Benue State, President Bola Tinubu is stepping into the scene. The president is expected to visit the state tomorrow in a show of solidarity with victims and communities still reeling from the violence. This visit, which led to the postponement of the scheduled trip to Kaduna, underscores a renewed focus on internal security. Already, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and the Inspector General of Police, Kaide Egbetokun, have launched a cross-border manhunt to track down those responsible for the brutal killings that rocked Benue earlier this week. The federal government says this is part of broader efforts to restore peace and hold accountable those fueling conflict across Nigeria's Middle Belt. All right, Double O, let's start the conversation this way. Yesterday, the president himself, announced that he will be visiting Benue tomorrow. But talk to me, what do you think is expected from the president when he gets to Benue?
Well, you see, we're at this juncture again talking about the same thing. I remember just 2 weeks ago, we discussed the Benue crisis. And the Chief of Army Staff then relocated, they said, to Benue.
Yes.
After his relocation, what happened? This one happened. So, you see, this issue of reacting to crisis is getting too much. We have been on this issue for so long, whether under former presidents Jonathan, under Buhari, and now we are on the same thing again. If you take a look at the statements issued from that time to now, it is always we are on top of the matter, we are going to chase them, we are going to bring them to justice. Has anyone ever been brought to justice? No. The president going there, well, for the optics, fine. But the Chief of Defense Staff is there. The Inspector General of Police is there.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, the Chief of Army Staff was there.
Yes.
What has this brought? Nothing. People continue to die.
Double O, if I get you right, are you saying that the president's visit is just a stopover in place of real action?
Well, look, the president is visiting. That is just what I know. After he leaves, it is what...
So you think nothing will come out of it?
I'm not saying that, but I don't expect that to be. But in most cases, that is exactly what happened. The Chief of Army Staff that went there, what came out of it? That's the result of having over 200, or is it 56, as the governor said, or how many? It is not even the number of people that matters. Some years back, in France, a cartoon magazine, some terrorists went there and shot the cartoonist.
Yeah, I think
in Denmark.
Yeah, is it Denmark?
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, maybe 3-4 people died. The whole world, including Nigeria, stood still. Everybody was wearing band and so on and so forth.
Even on their Facebook, they had to
in Nigeria today, whether up to 200, as people are saying, or 56, as the governor is saying, what have we seen?
Okay.
Statements. Everybody, the president is going, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General, all these are photo ops and soundbites, just for newspapers and TV stations and radio to have something to report.
All right, Emeka, when the president arrives Benue tomorrow, what should he be saying? I mean, what will his visit do?
Well, I expected that the president would have sacked all the military commanders, all the security commanders.
The service
in Benue
chiefs.
State.
Okay, in Benue State.
Start, at a level. Sack the security commanders in Benue. If it is found out that they could have done something, but they refuse to do anything. Because the fact of the matter is that all of these excuses we keep giving about killing, you have this one in Benue, even in Enugu State, people are crying, a handful. People are crying about that place. There are some other places again where you see, criminals, terrorists, bandits operating with impunity. And so is it that somebody, or there are people, maybe influential people within Nigeria outside who are preventing our security commanders, the commanders on the ground, from securing all these areas? Because you look at what the president said, that he's telling the service chiefs to implement his earlier directive. So that, of course, says that they had not implemented his directive. So action should be taken on it. Have they been queried? Has anybody been punished? Have there been consequences? By the way, if there is a need to sack the service chiefs, why are they still keeping their positions? Because it's embarrassing. The whole world is embarrassed. Look at the Pope. Look at the statement. Look at everybody. I've got calls from different places, from outside the country. People sending me messages. What is going on in Nigeria? What is going on? Why are people being killed? Like even set ablaze? No, this is too much. And let me say that, look, you see the centralized system of policing that we have in Nigeria today, it has to come to an end as quickly as possible. We must bring in state police. Whatever people are saying, state police will lead to this, will lead to that. Look, all of those things are no longer tenable. Let us bring in state police. Let the states, let communities have a say in how their jurisdictions are policed, are secured. Because if you continue to rely on this centralized policing, we will continue to have these failures. The monumental failure is highly embarrassing. We will be talking of Plateau. I don't know how Plateau has managed his own. We're talking of Benue. And then pockets of killings here and there. Why is it that people can have the impunity, can be so free to go into communities, kill people, and then the security chiefs are now telling us that they will engage on cross-border manhunt. Are you telling me, listen, the cross-border is that those guys should have crossed from this edge
something happened
to
on
the
Friday,
grave.
Saturday. On Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, you are
those fellows should have been sent to the hottest part of hell. You should not be waiting to look for them.
It should have been immediately. Immediately.
Okay, now still talking about that. Even though the president will be there tomorrow, what are the concrete demands the Benue people, the Benue state government, will be demanding from the president when he arrives there tomorrow?
The demand have always been there. The first cardinal principle of any government is security of life and property.
Absolutely.
So, even if you are not able to provide them food, give them that security. If they have that security, food will come.
Yeah, Section 14.
But in a situation where people are being killed just like that, now, this happened on Friday or Saturday. So Monday, Tuesday, you are talking of cross-border manhunt. Won't they have disappeared? And even if they have not disappeared, what happened? How is it that people as many as, even if it, let's even say it is 56 that the governor is 59. Talking about, or 59. How is it possible that 59 people will be killed 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and nothing will happen? As Emeka has said, all the security chiefs or whatever they are called, 100-kilometer radius of that place, should face sanction. It is because people don't face sanction in this country that is why things are happening. In this TV station now, if the news editor says, I don't want this news to be broadcast, and it is broadcast,
There will be sanctions.
There will be sanctions.
Head to roll.
But in Nigeria, in government, nobody is sanctioned. Anything happens. In a newspaper house, if an editor says news must not be published, it is published, head will roll. So why is it that this cannot happen in government? Why? You will be saying that the president has directed that the army chief. Does an editor need to direct a reporter when there is crisis somewhere to go there and report about it? You don't need anybody to tell you this is where you should go. The only thing the editor will tell you is, okay, look at this angle, look at that angle, look at that angle. I'm making that example because that's the area I'm very familiar with. So if people are being killed, the chief of defense staff will now wait for the president to direct. What is going on?
All right. Now, still talking about the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, they've launched cross-border manhunt for, these killers. Now that they've launched this manhunt, are you hopeful that something will come out of it?
Well, I'm always hopeful that criminals will face justice.
True.
That's the basic thing. So, going by past experiences, I'm not hopeful. Because the killings in Plateau, not one person has been taken to court, has been prosecuted. Not one person. Is it talking about other places? Not one has been prosecuted. Why would we allow these things to continue to happen? And then we're also talking now. Remember the terrorist attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State? Where are the perpetrators up to today? I can start naming different incidents in the past 10 years. Where are the perpetrators? Why is it that we don't have, why is it that we don't have a large-scale prosecution of the masterminds of these things? Because you just go, you get a few people and say they are suspects, and that is the end of the day. After all, in the same Benue state, under the former governor, there was somebody, Ghana, who was described as a dangerous element. And when the government found they couldn't control him, they found a way to neutralize him. How come the other people causing these problems, the masterminds of this problem, have not been found and neutralized? Because you see, it is not just bringing them, then you take them to court, they grant them bail, they keep causing problems here and there. Look, if there is a need to set up special courts to try some of these offenses, it will be in the best interest of Nigeria. But what Nigerians want to hear is that the masterminds have been arrested and been prosecuted. Two, if there's a direct confrontation with these people, that the security forces have the upper hand. And then three, negotiating with these people. I saw Katsina State is now negotiating with bandits. It is wrong. Because these criminals, they will never repent. You say they are repentant, they are not repenting anywhere. So we must take decisive action. Because you know what? The law gives the state monopoly of violence. Non-state actors should not put the state under the table, throw the state under the table.
All right. This crisis between the farmers and the herders, Now, let's look at the Benue farmers. What will the president's intervention mean for the farmers who feel affected by this crisis?
Well, you see, it's a very tough thing. And I don't agree with those who have pigeonholed everything, farmers, others, crises, foreign invaders, and all that. If it is farmer others crisis and that they threaten to take over their land, since these people have been killed and displaced, have the others moved there to take over the place? Has there been a follow-up to see whether it is really that is the problem? Because you just talk about farmers and others are clashing every day. They want to take over our land. They want to do this. If people want to take over something, you don't kill people or drive people away and then you two leave the place. Many of these villages have been rendered desolate
And renamed.
But who are the people who are occupying the place now? Are they the right occupiers? What the government needs to do and what the president needs to do is to give all the top politicians, either retired or tired or whatever, David Mark, Akume, what's the other man's name, Suswan, and the rest of all of them, they need to sit down in a room with the president. If there is anything among them that is causing this problem, I mean, maybe disagreement and all that, they need to, for the sake of their people. Look, if you have power today, who do you want to rule over? You want to rule over dead body or you want to rule over people? They must come together and unite themselves. This issue of maybe the governor is not on the same page with the secretary to the federal government and this one is not on. When you have power, what do you do with power? You use power to rule over people, not to rule over dead bodies so the president must hold them accountable that, look, it is your state.
It is your state. And
if there's any problem in this state, I will hold all of you responsible.
Now, our heart goes out to the people of Benue State.
It's very
goes out to
sad.
them. Now, to wrap this conversation up, to the women and children whose husbands were killed, whose fathers were killed, you know, now the children are now fatherless, some motherless. What is the humanitarian response of the government? What should it be at this time?
The best response of the government is to say enough is enough. Make sure it doesn't happen.
Now, for the people who have now lost persons, family members,
yes, of course.
What should the government be doing
the
at
government
this time?
should take over. The government should take over the upkeep of these people. The government should draw from its budget, from wherever,
From his reserve,
to take care of them. And the idea that you can keep people in IDP camps interminably, I support the governor of Borno State, Professor Zulu, that it is undignifying to keep people in IDP camps. Find a way to resettle them. If for a period you cannot return them to their original place of abode, but at least find some decent accommodation for them. Find something for them to do, because these are human beings. The people they've lost are human beings. You talk about farmer-header clashes. The people killed in the night, were they on farms? People were killed. So that shows you that this violence is beyond farmer-header clashes. The president should hold, and then again, I will appeal to the president. He should not make the blunder that former President Obasanjo made in 2004 when he went to Jos. And, you know, the chairman of the state chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria, and then the chairman of JNI, Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, they were trying to put things to him. And he responded in such an angry manner. And you remember the infamous statement, "Can my foot?" The president should avoid that. He can take the leaders, trusted leaders, and maybe hold a private session with them, hear them. If he doesn't want, if he doesn't want an open, yes, he can hold a private session with them, then come out and just, tell the world that, okay, so and so actions will be taken. But please, the president should avoid being misled into firing some verbal missiles, because that will take attention away from the objective. We will
I've heard some
talking
people
about
say that
something
the president
like
should go there and start
foot.
spitting fire.
No.
I've heard people say that.
No, you don't do that.
When you spit fire, yes, it's necessary. The president has already said, he has already even started spitting fire now. He said in a statement that the service chief should implement his earlier
directives, yes.
So, there is no excuse whatsoever. Remember, President Buhari said that when he was president, he directed the IG to move to Benue.
Yeah, he said
Did
he wasn't
the IG
aware.
go?
He said
the
he wasn't
IG didn't
aware.
go. And then what was done? He was allowed to stay in office. I mean, people should be made to pay for
All right, gentlemen.
acts of, when you disregard lawful directives, you should be punished.
All right, beautiful. Our heart goes out to the people, in Benue State, for those who've lost one person or the other, our heart goes out to them. All right, let's move straight to our next conversation, shall we? Democracy thrives on reform. And for the 10th Senate, electoral reform is high on the agenda. As the upper chamber hits the halfway mark of its 4-year term, lawmakers say they are shifting attention to legislation that will shape Nigeria's political future. Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele revealed in a mid-term briefing that the Senate introduced a total of 983 bills between June 2023 and June 2025. With the 2027 general elections in view, he said the chamber will now prioritize electoral reforms and a broader constitutional review. The Senate says its legislative agenda in the coming months will be guided by public interest, transparency, and the need to strengthen democratic institutions. Okay, the Nigerian Senate has ruled out its achievement, to celebrate its anniversary, 2 years. But talk to me, how will you assess the performance of the Nigerian Senate?
Well, in the last 2 years, what they have done, some of us, because it is not a bread and butter thing, because we should not make mistake. People should not rate the legislative arm as the executive. Their own, if they have not deviated from what they are supposed to do, their own is to make laws and to serve as a check and balances for the executive and the judiciary, that laws that have been made that are not implemented or not well implemented. But for me, I think the Senate, what they should concentrate on is this issue of electoral reform that they have been talking about. We have always been talking about electoral reform since 1999. Do we review the Constitution? What do we do? Are we going to have presidential? Are we going to have this? They will budget a lot of money. A particular Senate, maybe next Senate, will work to some point. Then they will, their term will be over. And then another Senate will come. They will also say they want to do this. So they must decide, the two houses now, the National Assembly as an arm, must decide what exactly do we want to leave as a legacy as a 10th Senate. We have just less than 2 years now.
Yes, exactly.
What is the reform that they want to bring to the electoral process? What exactly do they want us to do? Because in a situation where we have, they have been talking about whether we should hold all elections in one day or not and all that. Those are good areas they can look at, but what exactly is that electoral reform that they want to initiate? Is it that, in fact, for me, one of the most important one is this issue of people jumping from one party to another. What does our current constitution say? If you are going to leave a particular party for another, are you supposed to still hold your post?
But I thought the Senate had, the Supreme Court has sorted that matter. I thought it has put it to
Supreme Court came back again in the case of the Rivers lawmakers and said a different thing.
So these are issues that they need to look.
Yes, I know we have Section 109.
A constitution should not be something that people will need a very big man or whatever to come and interpret for you. It should be in such a way that almost everybody will understand what they are talking about. The electoral reform, especially about the issue of voting. and party supremacy and all that. What exactly is the stand of the National Assembly on the issue of our election? How do we go about it? Because if you talk to a member of APC today, especially those who are satisfied with what is going on, they will tell you everything is all right. If you talk to the opposition party, they will point out to you millions of things that are not all right. So all we need, all the National Assembly needs to do, you cannot satisfy everybody.
Sure.
We must know that one.
Exactly.
But to some extent, the National Assembly should, as the clearinghouse for all this, should be able to give us something important.
All right, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen. We need to go on this break. And when we return, Emeka Madunago, I'll get your thoughts on this matter. We need to go on this quick break. When we return, the conversation continues. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout.
In the 21st century, Nigeria cannot be an independent nation without technology independence.
In a world racing towards the future, out of Africa is Zynox Technologies, a Nigerian tech group with major global certifications, proven capacity and a bold vision to domesticate world-class technologies.
From powering critical government infrastructure, homes and businesses, to delivering some of Africa's most integrated ICT projects, we are redefining what's possible, and we take responsibility. And with our efficient iPower renewable energy solutions, we are bringing sustainable power to homes and businesses.
Let's build a stronger tech nation, powered by Zynox. Zynox. Anticipate the future.
Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
And cable, great quality, now with the new look.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have Double O right here and Emeka Madunago. So, Emeka, before we went on that break, we were talking about the Nigerian Senate, rolled out its achievements, and they said they will concentrate more on electoral reforms and constitutional reforms. What are your expectations? And also, are there other pressing issues that you want the Nigerian Senate to focus on in the next 2 years?
Thank you. The Nigerian Senate, I have no confidence in them that they can deliver electoral reforms. I mean, a Senate where...
What do you mean? You don't have confidence in them?
A Senate, yes. A Senate where the President of the Senate has been involved in receiving defectors, has done nothing to protect the sanctity of the Nigerian Constitution. The Nigerian Constitution has amended.
In what way?
Protecting defectors in the Senate against what is supposed to be. Should we tolerate defections? The answer is no. So,
No, what does the Constitution have to say about it? Because I don't know what you mean by
protecting.
It's not as if I'm supporting.
No. Okay, let's go back to what he said in 2016.
Okay.
That the nation should not tolerate political rascality. That you remember when PDP senators staged a walkout.
Yeah.
Because of the impending defection of a senator.
Yeah.
From PDP to APC.
Yeah.
So what has changed since then? That's the question. What has changed since then? So a Senate that I have confidence in must stand rigidly on the rule of law, must uphold the rule of law, irrespective of partisanship, irrespective of your partisan leaning. That is one. Two, we have had a Senate that, we've talked more about constituency projects than the real impact on bills, making a passage of bills. How many of these bills have actually been for the purpose of rescuing the economy from the situation we find ourselves right now? If you remember in October 2023, President Bola Tinubu talked about a stimulus bill, a stimulus plan to save businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, nano businesses.
The National Assembly, I thought the National Assembly were taking the initiative. It's okay, Mr. President, let's look for ways, by which we can bring up a stimulus plan to rescue both the big and the small ones and to prevent industries from collapsing.
Okay.
But have we seen that? The answer is no. And then you talk about electoral reforms. How do we proceed in terms of electoral reforms?
Yeah, they said.
How do we proceed? They've made promises. But you see, with what we've seen here and there, the different judicial pronouncements. One made in April 2015, about Johnson Abegunde of the Labour, who moved from Labour Party to APC. Then another pronouncement again from Supreme Court concerning the 27 lawmakers that defected in Rivers State. Then where do we stand? We must, and then, since they are the ones who will carry the electoral reform, I want to just let them know that we cannot put people out in the rain and in the sun to vote, and then at the end of the day, we'll be waiting for the pronouncement of the courts to know who actually won the election. Two, that if you get a mandate, the people's mandate, when you get tired of that place, resign. There can be no defection. We should not tolerate it.
All right, then.
And then again, the beavers, the IRF, the PVCs, these things must be put in the Constitution, not just the electoral law.
Okay, in the Constitution.
In the Constitution, yes, these things must be put in the Constitution. And then other necessary constitutional amendments that have to do with electoral reforms. The role of the judiciary, the role of the security agencies, the role of INEC, and then sanctions for electoral officers, whether full-time or ad hoc, or even resident electoral commissioners. Proper sanctions. It is noteworthy that the judiciary has jailed some electoral officers, but more people should be sent to jail so that it should, in fact, it should be almost a capital offense for you to subvert the democratic process in Nigeria. People should begin to realize that, look, you cannot toy with the mandate
of the people. All right, gentlemen. We need
just
to...
in addition to that,
just in 10 seconds.
Who have been punished for helping some people to win or whatever, what has happened to the person that they helped to win?
All right, then. Okay, then. All right, gentlemen. Beautiful conversation, but our time is fast spent. We need to move straight to our next conversation. Now, a bold move by Dangote Refinery is stirring the waters in Nigeria's petroleum distribution sector. The company's decision to begin direct nationwide fuel distribution is triggering sharp reactions from industry players. The Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, Petron, says the move could push smaller operators out of the business and threaten thousands of jobs. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, is also warning against the downstream sector. All right, Double O. Oil marketers, yes, they've argued that this move by Dangote is monopoly in disguise and will lead to job losses. They also said Dangote also only has license to refine and not to distribute. Talk to me, the concerns raised here. Are they legitimate concerns to you?
Very, very illegitimate.
Very illegitimate?
As far as I'm concerned.
Talk to me, what makes it illegitimate?
You know, all these things that the oil marketers or whatever they are doing is just red herrings, as far as I'm concerned. We are in this same country in 2001, Abi, when GSM came.
Okay.
It threw up so many other businesses. People selling recharge card and all that and so on and so forth. Today, do you see people working recharge cards again? Something else has happened and the country has moved on. So, what is important as far as consumers are concerned is the availability of the product.
Okay.
If Dangote is ready, as refined, and is ready to take it to the next filling station at no extra cost to the consumer, what is the business?
But there is a value chain. There are some people who are in charge of distribution.
Has become a bottleneck.
Okay.
It has become a bottleneck where you have some vested individuals. They don't refine. They don't drive trucks. They don't drive anything. They become chairman of drivers tanker drivers association. They sit in air-conditioned office and eat all the best.
So you're not concerned that there will be job losses?
For them?
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
See,
they have families too.
Okay, those who are buying petrol at expensive prices, don't they have families? Look, the important thing for me and for most Nigerians is how much do I pay at the pump to buy fuel? If cutting them off will bring down the fuel from the present 800 and something to 500, so be it. They should look for other jobs. Those who are selling recharge cards, haven't they found another job? When the banks wanted to start selling recharge cards, everybody was saying, some people will lose their job and so on. These people, there is no value they are adding to the value chain. Whether you call it value, there's not any value they are adding into it. Rather, they drive dilapidated trucks which fall every inch of the road and spoil the road that go.
All right, Emeka, the oil marketers, they talked about protecting the value chain.
Which value?
Which is, they said, let refiners refine.
No.
Let storage facility owners do their work. Let distributors do their work. You know, those in charge of logistics. Are these concerns valid? And also, is there, how do I put it? Is there a legal framework to back up this concern?
Yeah. I think I will advise those who are kicking to go and study the Petroleum Industry Act.
Yeah,
I took my time to look at it. They should go and study it. The NMDPRA has not said anything. Why? Because the Petroleum Industry Act says that, you know, it's the NMDPRA that will give out licenses, you know, for location, that will decide locations with throughput agreements where petroleum products will be stored. So, and that the licenses will be issued, you know, will be issued yearly and will run out 31st December every year. So maybe Dangote has seen that, wait a minute, what's the point of just, you know, having to rely on people whose licenses, you know, to store these things, to store petroleum products and all of that, will expire at the end of every year? Why don't I did this in my cement business, because addressing the question about refining, and remember in the cement business, he's the one who who supplies distributors, you know. So now that means he has a distribution arm, whatever he calls it.
So you don't see it as monopoly in disguise?
No, you see, people are talking of monopoly, but let me tell you the truth. The bigger problem that is coming is that we have marked 25 years of the 21st century, the first quarter. more disruptions are coming.
Because
this is a disruption. Take note that this was even a major reason why subsidy had to go. This was the reason why the Petroleum Equalization Fund
had to go.
And the PPPRA and the DPR had to go. Let's follow these things. Let's follow these things as, you know, these are things that are before us. These things were now merged, these entities were now merged into the NMDPRA. And now, it is left for those depot owners. Remember last year, Mr. Femi Otedola, a friend to
he said
Dangote,
they should sell.
He said they should sell. You see, when that man made that statement, I took note of that statement. I said, this man is pointing
in a direction.
And this is where we are.
Exactly.
Like some people have said, that the depot owners should come together, get licenses to set up refineries. In anywhere, they can set up a refinery in very remote parts of Nigeria.
All right.
You know, to distribute.
He talked about the PIA.
Yes.
I mean, the PIA is supposed to regulate activities in the sector.
Yes.
The question is Dangote going against any law with this move?
Well, I'm not a petroleum industry expert, and from what I can see, as Emeka has said, the man is producing, and perhaps his storage is getting overfilled, and he doesn't have people to come and lift it, trucks. So the man decided that, look, rather than produce and have this thing in stock, why don't I also go into this? It might be that he has registered a different arm of this distribution chain. And what is like a baker. He's baking his bread. And he looks for how to distribute his bread, get it to the consumer, and then some bread sellers are kicking that, no, you shouldn't be the one selling it. If he can do it, let him do it. Look, in Nigeria, we always concentrate on the minor. Let us concentrate on the major aspect of it. This is step. Is it going against any rule in the PIA?
That's the thing.
If it's not going against any rule in the PIA, then those who are kicking against it, they should think of what to do. I mean, the man cannot keep producing. He has the largest refinery in Africa or in the world or wherever or whatever it is, and he's producing. He cannot continue to consume it himself. It's a business. So if he thinks
to find a solution to this, do you think there should have been some sort of a round table conversation before this thing was announced? Before this thing was announced, do you think there should have been a conversation?
Of the PIA is there in the law that no person shall undertake the following petroleum liquids operations without a valid license, permit, authorization issued by the authority. Number one is long. Number two, the offtake of petroleum products. It goes on, you know, goes on and on and on and on. Petroleum products backloading operations continues like that, you know. It talks about importation.
Because of our time,
so what I'm saying is that...
Do you think there should have been a round table before Dangote announced this? Do you think there should have been a conversation with the oil majors?
No, you know the problem. You know the problem we have in Nigeria is this. When government takes a step, we get so emotional. When a new law comes out, we don't sit down and start holding conferences, maybe round tables and all those things. What are the likely fallouts of this thing? Because we believe we can always cry to the president, Mr. President, jobs will be lost too. People will fall into Hangout. And then government will say, okay, we'll adjust. Government, remember the government was paying equalization, so that petroleum products will be the same thing all over. But at the end of the day, government now said the subsidy is not sustainable. So what the government do? You now found out that
you think this move will bring about
the price of petroleum products in Lagos is different from the price of petroleum in Kano, in Enugu, in different places. So this is part, as we agreed that subsidy It's biting everybody.
All right, gentlemen.
So it will continue.
Thank
There are
you.
still some other things in the PIA,
PIA
that will still be implemented.
All right, gentlemen. Appreciate you. Beautiful. Now let the conversation continue. I wish we still had more time for this. All right, let's move straight to our final conversation. The long hand of justice may be slow, but it continues to stretch. In Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory High Court has granted former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele bail in the sum of 2 billion naira. Emefiele faces multiple charges, including the alleged illegal acquisition of 753 duplexes in the capital city, properties the prosecution links to illicit financial dealings during his time at the Apex Bank. He has pleaded not guilty, but the court imposed strict bail terms, warning that any breach will lead to his immediate detention. The case has now been adjourned till July 11 as Nigerians watch closely for what comes next in this high-profile prosecution. Yes, Nigerians are watching closely, even though the court has now granted Emefiele bail with stringent conditions. But talk to me, is this some sort of a victory for Emefiele or temporary relief?
In what way? You see, it is surprising, and it's only in a country like Nigeria that this can happen. 752 units. How many years was Emefiele the MD of the bank, the commercial bank, where he was seconded, and then central bank? If all his salary as the MD, his salary and allowances, even as MD of the commercial bank and as the governor of central bank, are all compiled together, will it have been enough to finance
753 duplexes?
I mean, how many more do we need to have 774 local governments? Maybe all the local government. Maybe that was his plan.
would have had embassies.
I mean, so now, I still feel. In fact, I'm tongue-tied because I don't know what explanation will this man ever give to his children or his family to continue to fight for this property, or to anybody. Why should you begin to fight and say that he should tell us how much is his salary, how much tax he paid and all that, for us to not even, okay, which factory, is there any factory that he owns? Dangote, we know, owns so many factories and so on. If Dangote is the owner of this, perhaps nobody will even question it. Because we all know that he has factories here and there. But this, it is said that salary, no matter how much you earn as salary, it can never make you rich. It may make you comfortable. So how does this man, with his salary, even from whenever he started work as a worker, have been enough to do this? So he is now coming out. Nigeria is a very good country.
It's a beautiful country. Now, Emeka, Nigerians are watching closely. You know, what comes next now that he's been granted bail? What comes up? Nigerians are what? Will justice be served?
No, well, without going into anything that is sub judice.
Exactly.
You know, with due respect to the courts, I believe that the courts, you know, the justices handling the cases will deliver the best judgment in their own wisdom. So I don't want to second-guess them. But truly, we hope that the courts will arrive at, the different courts handling the Emefiele's matters will arrive at decisions that will be in the best interest of the nation. Because this nation has suffered so much in terms of, you know, the pillaging of its resources. And then again, there's something very interesting a report that talked about a decision of an April 9, 2025 decision of the Court of Appeal. You know, there was a 3-man panel, 2 justices agree, you know, and said that why one dissented and said that the forfeiture of some of Mevele's properties here and there, you know, that it did not stand the valid test of law, so that it should be sent back to the trial court for fresh hearing. The other judge, you know, the other justice of the Court of Appeal, he disagreed and said that the forfeiture was in order. So the point is this: I hope that the judiciary will help us to deal with this problem of corruption and you know, and other things around it. I hope that at the end of the day, we will be able to deal with this issue, not just as it concerns Emefiele, but other high-ranking government officials, former accountants general of the Federation.
In fact, the list is long.
The list is so long. The other day, the EFCC chairman was saying that Yahoo boys have brought disgrace to the nation. I said, no. It's just a symptom of the problem, which is that people think they can just stretch their hands and take from the treasury. You know, just pillage the treasury without any consequences. So we must do something, you know, to put an end to it. Remember, the Abacha loot, if you remember, the Abacha loot actually led the Western nations to take actions, stringent actions concerning money laundering. Stringent
Nigeria
actions
must do same
concerning money laundering. So we must also look at all of this, these different cases.
All right, gentlemen.
But I need to just say there's something. The place I talked about in the conversation about Dangote was was part 4 of the NMDPRA's regulations issued in 2022, not the PIA.
Then.
But it was consequent upon his powers conferred on it by the PIA.
All right, then. It's a fine place for us to leave it. Beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed it. Emeka Mantunaku, thank you so much, as always. Appreciate you. Double O, Olayinka Oyebile. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. And that's all on Journalist Hangout today. Yes, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangouts on Sunday. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Convert your car to save money for fuel. The CNG will save you a lot from spending money for fuel. Come and convert your car. It is 100% safe. Now, so Nigeria happened to me. It's Michael Aleafi. We will convert cars to CNG. The benefit of CNG, it is safe fuel. Like now, for most of these cars we are converting, especially this one now, the tank is 65 liters. And you can only use 3,500 naira to fill it. That can cover a distance of 120 to 150 kilometers. So it saves fuel, especially when fuel are cost in this country now. I have not been in Lagos before, so it's because of this particular CNG store that bring me to Lagos. And the money they paid me personally on mechanical, and it's not enough like the way they are paying me on CNG now.
Accountable Nigerian, a caring Nigerian, I live by the citizens' code.
Now, when I start this CNG, I marry because I did not get wife when I do mechanical work. Now, when I start this CNG, I constantly say my life don't change automatically. I don't get anything that time. I receive money, but the money no they reach anything for me. But this one where I don't do, I do am now. I see enough of money. My families are very proud of me. In fact, they are very proud of me because of this work where they do. Like now for Plateau State, no any conversion center for Plateau State. but they are trying to get 1 or 2. But I'm very happy if I can be the first person to get a center for CNG in Plateau State. I'll be happy. Most times, the disadvantage of this CNG is from the tank. Some people call welder to construct a tank for them. So that one is easy to exploit. So this one we are using on this vehicle now is a bulletproof tank. So our works are very perfect and they are very safe, 100% safe. I was trained in Abuja by Mr. Okeze in his workshop, Jesse Automobile in Abuja. It takes me like a year before I